I just feel like it was put there for a reason for me to find.
Traded a couple hours of our life, or hopefully a couple more years of his.
They're your lifeline for when nobody else is there. When you're in that dark place, that dog is there for you.
Here at Stitch, we celebrate the ways everyday people are making this country a kinder place to live, one incredible story at a time. From a kitten caught in a fence to a rescue dog taken in by a disabled veteran, these touching stories of people saving animals in need are sure to warm your heart. First, a truck driver welcomed a new addition to his family after finding a puppy in a discarded backpack.
Noticed the backpack in the road, pulled up to it, got out of the truck and looked. Seen it moving, so I just happened to look into it and found a puppy.
On an otherwise routine morning, a waste management driver in Ohio made a distressing find. A 10-week-old puppy was abandoned in a backpack in the street.
I mean, it was kind of shocking to think somebody would just throw away a dog like that, but then in today's world, you never know what's going to happen.
The driver, Aaron, said that the little dog seemed relieved when he was found. Aaron wrapped the dog in his sweatshirt and rang his supervisor before taking the petite pooch to the vet, where he was diagnosed with a fractured knee and hip.
I just feel like it was put there for a reason for me to find.
But Aaron's generosity didn't stop there.
I'm gonna try my best to adopt it and get it in the family.
And he did. His father-in-law adopted the dog, who has since been named Bunny. In our next story, a boat captain went the extra mile to help his seafaring sidekick, who just happens to be a bird.
Like after 15 years, it was like, this is awful.
For more than a decade, Captain John's lobster boat, the Intrepid, had an unusual first mate. This is Red Eye, a great black-backed gull named after the circle around her eye.
I mean, she used to stand on the cabin and just watch the traps come in if she was hungry, waiting to see if there was a fish in one of them for her.
Captain John and Red Eye had a long-established routine. Once the boat went offshore, Red Eye would swoop in, land on the bow, and go along for the ride.
It was comforting to look forward and to see her there all the time. I mean, without a doubt, she's been with me longer than any deckhand.
But one day, Captain John saw Red Eye and immediately knew something was off.
As she flew in, her leg was dangling below her body, and I could see her coming in, and she landed.
The bird had suffered nerve damage from a leg injury. However, the captain had no intention of leaving her to fend for herself. He took Red Eye to the Center for Wildlife in Maine. But in the meantime, his time at sea just wasn't the same without her.
Every day I'd go out the next week. There was an empty cabin in front of me. There was nobody on the long ride.
At first, things weren't looking good for the bird, but the doctors were able to nurse her back to health. Upon her remarkable recovery, Red Eye made her triumphant return to the stern of the Intrepid.
It was just a fabulous day. It was so great. There is a trust that we can have with nature, and we should value them for who they are.
In our next story, this cow had quite a day when she got stuck in the mud. Literally.
Probably the suction had gotten a hold of her legs and she just couldn't work herself out.
When he heard about a cow stuck in a mud-filled basin, Deputy Danny rushed to the rescue. He's part of the sheriff's agricultural unit in Volusia County, Florida, so he's no stranger to episodes like this one. Because the basin is located right off the St. Johns River, in theory, there were plenty of resources at their disposal.
Where she's at, we wouldn't be able to put a boat in there anyway. She's kind of on the mud flat.
After ruling out a boat rescue, Deputy Danny pulled out a heavy strap he brought with him. The cow's owner waded into the water to get it around her, which wasn't easy. It took around an hour and a half to get it right.
She's tuckered out too. Pretty tight. Got it. Bingo.
Finally, they hooked the strap to a rope tied to the deputy's truck.
We were able to actually pull her very gently right across the top of the mud and the water and get her right to the shoreline.
But even back on dry land, the poor cow wasn't out of the woods yet.
Come on, Mama. Yeah. Let's sit there, warm up, get out of that water.
It looked like she had been hit by a moccasin, maybe a small one, because she was swollen up in the throat area.
Luckily, the cow ate some feed brought by Deputy Danny, who expected her to have no trouble bouncing back from the mud and the moccasin. In her new life with a disabled veteran, this dog has overcome a past that was anything but heartwarming, proving she was named Miracle for a reason.
I love it.
Miracle the trained service dog has been adopted by Ted, a disabled combat Marine veteran. But the German Shepherd only came to live with Ted's family after surviving a shocking event. According to investigators, during a tussle with police, the dog's previous owner threw her from a motel's second-floor balcony. Fortunately, the dog landed on her feet, with a nearby food truck vendor keeping her from running into a busy nearby street.
Just running around with nobody around, and you got the highway right there. So I just decided to go take care of it.
Astonishingly, the dog suffered only minor injuries from the fall, inspiring rescuers to name her Miracle. A judge later ruled that the previous owner was either unable or unfit to care for her. That's when Ted entered the picture.
When we saw each other, it just clicked. They're your lifeline for when nobody else is there. When you're in that dark place, that dog is there for you.
And Miracle quickly settled into her new home.
She talks to him. She has a lot to say. She kisses, and she worships him already.
She's definitely going to take care of me. If I get a little anxious, a little upset or anything, she's going to calm me down. I know it.
In our next story, a kitten got his head stuck in a fence in chilly conditions, and if it wasn't for animal control, the situation could have been serious.
They found this poor kitty with its head stuck in a chain link fence.
When this kitten was discovered by animal control, the fence wasn't their only concern.
On top of that, the cat was also stuck sitting in the snow, so imagine how cold he was.
Kelly, an animal control official, said calls about pets left out in the cold are common.
It is something that definitely eats away at me at night, knowing that there's probably pets outside in this weather.
Animal control officers got to work to help the kitten, but there wasn't a quick fix.
We were able to cut the chain link out of the fence around the kitty, and then we transported the cat to the VCA Animal Medical Center, where they were able to go and do a little more in-depth cutting that we didn't want to do in the field and risk hurting him.
The 6-month-old kitten was named Rasputin by volunteers at the Nebraska Humane Society, who kept him warm and safe while preparing him for adoption. Next, a large group of rescue dogs and cats traveled hundreds of miles to get one step closer to their forever homes.
Come here, baby.
64 dogs and 42 cats were transported nearly 500 miles from Arkansas to Omaha, Nebraska. For more than a year, Nebraska's animal-loving advocates, or NALA, coordinated the move with the Arkansas Rescue Team, with the aim of finding loving homes for all the animals.
Through just social media, through networking, we have found each other, and we're just rocking it out now.
Angie, who founded NALA, revealed most of the animals were in rough shape when they were rescued. Some of the dogs and cats had been abused, while others were feral.
They're going to need a lot of vet treatment. They're going to need a lot of rehab care, a lot of injections.
Angie explained that acclimating to being indoors and around people would take time, so the animals were paired with foster parents.
A lot of these guys have never seen the inside of a home before.
Once they got comfortable in that type of setting, then they'd be ready for adoption.
You're just offering your love to them and showing them that it's okay and that humans are okay.
Finally, a good Samaritan saved a starving bird who got caught out in the cold.
Came back around and there was a frozen pigeon sitting there. He kind of waddled up to me a little bit, so I went over to inspect him and noticed he wasn't doing good.
An Omaha, Nebraska native came to the aid of an ailing pigeon he spotted from his garage. The man, Chris, saw the bird move closer to him, then hit the skids while trying to fly away.
Somehow flew over or hopped over the fence to my neighbor's yard, and I found him over there, kind of face down, wings spread out. He had just completely given up.
So he decided to let the pigeon warm up inside his home.
I thought it was pretty interesting that he, basically walked up to me and, kind of asked for help.
The next morning, Chris and his wife brought the bird in to get checked out, and he soon ended up at Nebraska Wildlife Rehab.
This pigeon was extremely emaciated, so he was very much near death. Had they not picked him up, he would have died.
Laura, the organization's executive director, said they warmed the bird up further and gave him food to eat.
If you can walk right up to a wild animal, then there's definitely something wrong with it, and it's time to call experts.
The pigeon was expected to make a full recovery in 3 to 4 weeks, but had it not been for Chris's act of kindness, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Here's what I believe about this and every other instance. Some people would say, it's just a pigeon. Who cares? Why did you save it, right? But the reality is, it is a living being.
Traded a couple hours of our life, or hopefully a couple more years of his.
We hope you enjoyed these stories of inspiring animal rescues, and thanks for watching Stitch.